walked into the coach's office, said, I'm done. Can't do this. I hate you. Hate this. I'm out. He said, no, you're not doing it. You're not quitting. And I went, all right, cool.
This is Designing Leaders, the podcast where simplicity meets leadership. I'm your coach, Desi Mayner, your guide on this journey towards effective and efficient leadership. Here we unite theory and practice, bringing you actionable insights from the front lines of leadership. From boardrooms to sales floors, we're breaking down silos and fostering teamwork. Every episode is a new step towards absolute accountability and clear communication. I'm your host, Desi Mayner, and let's dig in. What's up, everybody? Desi Mayner here. We are on the Designated Leader podcast, and you're probably wondering, this looks different. May even sound different, hopefully better. That's because it was the lead podcast, and now it's the Designated Leader podcast, and we're in an awesome new studio that we're super pumped about. And I got my guy Cole here with me today. You guys know him as a professional soccer player, a marketing guru, once a client, now the owner of Athlete Mental Game Coaching and an athlete mindset business that helps serious athletes train their mental game. He's got courses, he's got coaching, he's done all of the things. We basically do a very similar thing with different industries. And today we're going to be talking a lot about sports and leadership and how the two are extremely alike, that we've played in this space. I mean, since I could stand, basically.
And what am I, 24? So 20 years of actually playing competitively.
Yeah, so we've done this for a minute, both at the highest of levels, from Pee-wee to professional, and everything in between. And today we're just going to kind of tie that to business. I want to give you guys some ways that leadership and sports parallel in terms of business, and then some ways to apply those things, right? So,
sure.
I mean, honestly, let's just tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey when it came to sports, and your thoughts about leadership in sports. Just kind of as a way to kick us off.
Yeah, so obviously I've been playing since, 3, 4. That's my first memory is playing soccer. So it's just been my entire life. And as opposed to leadership, right, like I've been ingrained with the leadership style. My dad has been like, be a leader, be a leader, be a leader in everything. And so that's just kind of where my mind goes whenever I see athletes, whenever I see teams, whenever I see businesses, like, how's the leadership?
Yeah.
Like, is it good, bad? And now that I do mental performance coaching, I look at games way differently. I can see little ticks on players, like how they act. It's like, oh, that's poor leadership.
Yep.
I mean, I just watched a game the other day, and I thought the coach did a poor job of managing the players, and it was completely out of character. And I went, what are we doing?
Yeah.
That's a moment that the kid's going to remember. And
no doubt
it might be good for them because now they know, okay, don't act like that. Don't do that. But even then it's like, it's just, it's the mess. Right. So that's why I think leadership is just so, so important, because I am a firm believer that everyone is a leader. It just depends on if you're a good one or a bad one and how much influence you have. Yeah.
I was talking just today to a group of high school students, just brought me in for a leadership class. And I said, our leader's born and made. And I said, I can guarantee you every one of them is born. Right. And like, no one laughed. And I was like, that was a joke. They're all born. Right. Like, whoa, tough crowd. But then we talked about how leadership's a skill, right? You can be made, it can be built, right? It can be designed. But it's funny you said that about your dad, because my mom used to tell me every day before I went to school, be a leader, not a follower. I mean, every day. And now I tell my kids that. So it's pretty cool that just happens to be something in common.
Yeah.
Right. But let's kick this off with 10 ways that this parallels, right? We got 10. We'll get through as many as we can, but who knows what we get into as far as a good thing. To me, number one is teamwork, right? So, I mean, I define leadership as a group of people trying to work together, bonus points if they're happy, and accomplish a goal.
For sure.
Right. So it's like sports, military, business. It doesn't really matter. But for this conversation, we'll talk about sports and business. So to me, we got to figure out how to work together. That's the teamwork part.
Yeah.
And we got to figure out how to do it happily. So I guess talk to me about, like, what do you think are, or maybe your greatest experience of teamwork in sports?
Greatest experience. So I've been on a lot of high level teams throughout the years, and I've had some really cool, looking back on the career, I've had some really good opportunities to learn like good and bad leadership. In the moment, the bad leadership like is not fun at all. But I mean, when you're on the good side of it, like it can change an entire culture of a program, a team, a school. Like it just transcends into every single aspect. And throughout all these years of playing, there's one coach that comes into mind throughout my college career. And at the time, it was like a little rough because I wasn't used to this like regimented thing. Because he was easily the most like, we had everything down by the second. We used to just call
that young and dumb.
Yeah, right. I was a freshman, so I thought, I was the top of the world. I thought I was, the best. And then all of a sudden, I get into like you need to do this, this, and this, and fit into this culture. Yep. But still have your personality. So like figure it out. And I didn't handle it well.
That's a great way to look at it.
Didn't handle it well. But looking back, seeing how I use so much of those 2 years into my current coaching. Like now I coach futsal teams and soccer teams. Yeah. I mean, now like sports teams with the mental game coaching, but I can see all the parallels and I use everything about that into my coaching today. And yeah, like it all comes down to teamwork and that piece of it, because if you can say all the right things, but if you can't get the team to be on the same page, then you're going to run into a wall.
Yeah, to fight together. Yeah. I can think of one specific example. My senior year, we were at Saginaw Valley playing football, and we had a new coach. And the offensive line, I was a center. The offensive line went into his office a couple days before the game, and we said, "You either get our running back 30 touches, or we will." And he got 35 touches that game. It was against Northern Michigan, and we carried him the entire fourth quarter from play to play.
Jeez.
And we ran like the same play. Like I think it was like 26 times we ran the same play.
Oh my gosh.
And like they knew it was coming. Like we just
can't stop it.
Dominated the line of scrimmage on them. And it was all because the five of us, the 5 offensive linemen, were working as a unit. Right. And we used to literally say, we are 5 or we are nothing.
Yeah.
And it was all about that. I knew everybody's middle name. I knew everyone's life story. Like we fought together, we bled together, we cried together. I mean, we did all of the things, like we were like inseparable almost, especially during season.
100%.
Like you knew if somebody was limping, you knew if you had to add a little bit more to this, like you knew all of those things. Yeah. And people say all the time, like, how did you know that? And it's like, well, one, because I spent a whole bunch of time with them. I intentionally built strong relationships with them, and we went through a lot of hard stuff. Yeah. I mean, there was many times when there was fist fights with those same guys on a Tuesday, during the run drill when it's nothing but assholes and elbows freaking under that pile. But like you get out there, you sort it out, you figure it out. And it's like, well, man, if we're fighting like this, as soon as there's an opponent, you ought to see us when we work together against someone we mutually don't like.
100%.
Right. Or want to beat.
Yeah.
Then it's like, you better watch out.
Yeah. I mean, teamwork goes much deeper than just like, you all are on the same side trying to accomplish one thing. Like everyone needs to know their specific role. Yeah. Right. Like if one person's off, then no matter how much you want to work together and no matter how much you want to be a team, like if one person doesn't know the role or execute it well, then it's a disaster. Yeah. Right. And goes back to that 1 to 2 year experience with that coach. And it's always like, different roles, but the same value. Yeah. Right. So if you show up and don't execute your role or wish you had a different role, then you're not adding value to that program, which means the team isn't the best they can possibly be. Yeah. Right. And your value doesn't have to be on the stat sheet. And people, like that'd be great if everyone was adding to the stat sheet, but like there's culture players, there's all these different types of just
absolutely
pieces of a puzzle that need to know their role and execute it really well. And if they don't, the team's not going to do anything.
I mean, we used to say all the time, you got 11 people doing their job, then we got an offense that's scoring a touchdown. You got 11 people doing their job, you got a defense that's making a stop, then you got a team that's winning a game. Right? But do your job, nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's missing so much.
For sure.
Because people all the time are like, well, you haven't worked in my industry. And I'm like, I don't need to work in your industry.
Yeah, I don't.
Actually, that's the good thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't like even care about your industry. What I care about is those people and how they're being led.
Yeah.
And it's like fill in the blank on the sport,
right,
the industry, the whatever. Like leadership is leading people.
100%.
Right. So it's like, I don't care. It's all you have to figure out how to do is build the skill to get people to win.
Yeah.
Right. And that it's not that complicated. It's incredibly difficult to function and to do well.
Right.
Right. But the concepts are pretty doggone simple.
I mean,
like, know your role, do your role.
Yeah.
And
it's all the same stuff, just painted differently.
How many companies do I go into? And I'm like, what's your role within the mission? And they're like, huh? What's the mission? Yeah. What goal are you working on? What does winning look like? I guess do my job. What's your job? And they like, you can't answer these basic questions, right? And it's not their fault. It's just they haven't been led well.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I think the key is teamwork. The key within teamwork is relationships.
Oh yeah.
You have to really get really good at those relationships. And there's a lot of different ways to do that, which I'm sure we'll go in. But if you don't have relationships with your team, I mean, that's where you got to start.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? You got to eat lunch together. You got to hang out. You just got to know each other and know each other well. Strengths, weaknesses, fears, all of those things. And it doesn't matter the environment.
Yeah.
Like, I know we're talking about work here, but it's the same thing.
Same thing in every
it doesn't matter. Any of your best teams, your best companies, whatever, they know each other well. And that's why they work well together. So teamwork.
For sure.
Let's talk about strategy and execution. So in sports, right, the goal is obviously win the game.
For sure.
But there's, 100 ways to do that.
For sure. Yeah.
So talk to me about what are your thoughts about the strategy of leadership, especially in terms of winning? I know sports is more of a finite game. There's a winner, there's a loser, there's set rules.
For sure.
Business and leadership, more of an infinite game.
For sure.
Right, as Simon Sinek says. But I guess talk to me about what have you learned in terms of the strategy piece of how to win? Yeah,
so I mean, strategy is very, very important simply because if, again, not everyone knows their role or what to do, then you're going to fail. So if you have a strategy session and people walk out of that session and are like, I still don't know what I'm doing, then you're going to fail. You need everyone to be on the same page and know the exact strategy that you're going to do so you can go succeed.
Yeah.
And strategy, obviously, it comes in so many different forms, right? And I'll speak in soccer terms because it's simple for me.
There you go.
Right? But
yeah, for sure.
The goal of the game is very simple. One team needs to put the ball in the back of the net more than the other. It's really simple, right? But the ways to play it, completely different. And that's why there's so many different styles. Every coach has a different way of communicating their strategy, has a different strategy. Even if you play the same strategy, it's going to be completely different because of personnel, because of the coaching staff, because of how you communicate those relationships on the field. Everything's different, right? So as a coach or as a leader or in business, you need to know yourself so that you can explain the strategy well and people understand it well.
That's key right there. Right. And I mean, take everything you just said about soccer and replace it with any business.
Any business.
Right. Yeah. The goal is what? Make money and be profitable.
For sure.
How can you do that? 100 different ways, probably more than 100, thousands of different ways to do that. And how do you do it? Well, you come up with a strategy and you have to have the ability to explain it to your team. Yeah. So they understand it.
For sure. Yeah.
Right. So it's the same exact thing. But how have you found it best to go from here's our strategy to executing that strategy? How do you get that? How do you connect those dots the best?
Repetition, right? Confidence is in repetition. I was watching this video of this guy explaining a goalkeeper that he was coaching. And he talked about when I first met him, his hands were like a brick wall. Couldn't catch anything. It was horrible, right? And all he told him to do was go up against the wall, take the ball, drop kick it, catch it, drop kick it, catch it.
Okay.
And he had him do it, 400 times a day.
Yeah.
8 months later, he comes back to him with, calluses and bleeding hands. But that level that he went from super low level in, I don't remember what league or country it was, but it was like third or fourth tier all the way to first tier simply by gaining the confidence of doing the simple things, right? And it was repetition over and over and over again to the point where it was automatic. He could easily do it with his eyes closed. And that's what confidence is. And that's what, the ability to execute your strategy really well is, okay, here's a strategy. Now go do it a million times so you can do it successfully once. And I tell this to my athletes all the time. Like, this is probably my most common phrase is I want you to do it so much and think so much beforehand so that when game time rolls around, you don't need to think at all. Right. And that's when you can achieve that. That's when like as a team, as a unit, as an individual, you're performing your best.
Yeah. So strategy is the plan and execution is the action of executing that plan, like the physical doing of the plan. I think that's key because the strategy was drop, kick, catch,
right,
over and over and over again. And then the execution was actually doing that many times, that many days in a row, that many weeks in a row.
For sure.
And it's like, I can just picture this dude coming back going, I did what you said.
Yeah.
What now?
Right.
Like new strategy.
Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Strategies change all the time within organizations, and change people fear that like crazy. It's like, okay, well, if you fear change, like just go plug into a job where you do the same thing over and over and over again. But if you want to, get better and improve, you need to be able to change, and strategies change all the time. Yeah. In every sport, every business, like strategies change. You do one thing, it may be successful, but you may need to pivot and go do something else. So like if your team isn't willing to change and adapt, then you're going to fail. You're going to fail. Yeah. 100%. No, yeah.
And I think that one of the key things that I've seen, especially in the business world, is, the owner or the founder will change the strategy. They'll have called a war room meeting. Yeah. That lasts 20 minutes. And in that owner founder's mind, strategy's done. It will be executed. And then it's not talked about again until the owner founder is super angry because it's not being executed the way he thought he said it. And then it's just like all emotion, and that emotion is never good. So it's like rage. Right. Basically it's him or her yelling at people.
For sure.
And it's like strategy transfers to execution with repetition. Therefore, you need to keep meeting about it, keep informing your people, keep clarifying things, keep updating. Otherwise, they're going to kind of create their own narrative.
For sure.
And do it the way they think was done because it was 2 weeks ago that you told them how to do it.
For sure.
You haven't even checked in on them.
Right.
Or made sure that they're doing it the way that you want them to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's one of the keys too.
100%.
When it comes to strategy and execution. How about adaptability? We talked a lot about change. Yeah. I think adaptability is another one of those parallels of leadership in sports. I mean, how many times in sports? I mean, I can think of, 100 times in a game that you had to adapt or change or go away from the plan or
more than.
I mean, a football play is like 7 seconds long. Yeah. And I've adapted 4 times in that 7 seconds. Outside of what I thought was going to happen.
For sure.
Right. The ball was wet. Yeah. He didn't catch it the way I thought he would. The linebacker's blitzing. I didn't know he was going to blitz. And that all happened in the first 2.5 seconds.
Yeah. 100%.
Right. So like, what about the adaptability that you learned as a soccer player, probably especially as a striker, kind of all over. Right. And you get to make a ton of your own decisions. Yeah. That you had to learn how to deal with. What to adapt to, when to adapt, why should I adapt here?
For sure.
All those things.
Yeah. So, going back to what I said before about like, all right, we had a strategy, we had a specific system that we wanted to play, but within each system, you had personalities. And the best teams figure out where to put those personalities. And if your personality is like, I'm doing it this way, you're not going to fit within a team. Go play a single sport or go, run a business where it's just you and no one else. Yeah. Okay, fair. Go do your thing. Right. But if you're a part of any team, like you need to be able to change a little bit and adapt a little bit to the people around you. Because we talk about this with Disc all the time. Yep. Is if you can't communicate or can't work with the people around you, then no matter how talented you are, no matter your IQ of what you're doing, like all this stuff. Like if you don't know how to communicate to others, adapt to what they want, then you're gonna fail, and that's gonna happen over and over and over again. So adaptability is just like, it's like breathing. You have to do it. You have to be so used to do it that you don't think about it.
Yeah.
And it's just a huge piece to anything that needs to be successful.
And with confidence.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like it was your plan all along.
Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah.
My uncle used to tell me this story. He used to go into this Marriott in Southern Florida, and he would never pay to go in there. And I would always be like, how do you, and he always used to say, just walk in like you own the place. You just walk in and go, hey, Bob, what's up, man?
Yeah.
It's like his name's not even Bob. You just walk by, and it's just like, just adapt to the situation confidently.
Yeah.
Like like the only thing that we know for sure is that you're going to have to adapt.
For sure. And the way to do that with confidence is to be prepared.
Yeah.
Right. We talk about that all the time of like, there's probably luck is a huge piece in anything.
Yep.
Right. And you're going to have good luck. You're going to have bad luck. I would say luck is probably 85% of what happens. But the people that tend to make more good luck for themselves are the ones that are prepared for all the situations that change.
No doubt.
Right. Like there's only one given way that something will happen, but like there's an opportunity of it happening 100 different ways.
Stack the odds.
You need to be prepared for all of those so that if one goes, AWOL, then you can take your knowledge and your preparation and apply it. And now all of a sudden you're confident and you know what to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's rule number 6 of our leadership laws is innovate and adapt. I mean, it's like everything changes. Everybody changes. The market changes, technology changes, like change is the only constant. So like if you're not adapting, you're dying.
Yeah.
Like if you're not always looking to get better, and always contingency planning and always figuring out if this, then that. It's like the one meme of like if this, then that, and if that, then that, if this, then that, and it just keeps going. Yeah. Like you always have those in your head. Once you do that enough, and I know like this is what I learned in sports is like you just your body just knows.
Yeah.
Like your brain just knows how to make a change.
Yeah.
And roll with it like it was totally normal. Yeah.
So as a business coach, how do you get teams that you don't know to like be aware of like you need to be able to change? How do you get them to start thinking that way? Because if someone's so rigid in their ways, they're not going to think about it. And you coming in, this guy that knows nothing about me, how do you get them to start thinking about, I need to be able to adapt for my team?
So a lot of times I'll help them to stack their own proof. So I just ask them questions about their life and ways that they've already adapted and changed and done well with it, and then I'll pull out like let's do a day in the life of this business.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the plan? All right. What happened there? And then you start to stack that evidence. And it's like, actually you guys changed a lot, but you're freaking out when it comes to contingency planning.
Right.
Right. And then you just teach them a nice contingency planning process that's simple, easy to use and quick. And then you have them do it over and over and over again. And then before you know it, it's like, okay, now how do you take that and then apply it, at Tuesday at 2:00,
right? And
make that happen. Right. And it's like, you slowly build all those awareness triggers. And then before you know it, they're starting to do it naturally. And then you put them in uncomfortable scenarios.
Yeah. It's all about
like you role and you start with just modeling.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm role playing. It's like, just read this. It's going to suck and it's okay.
Yeah.
Right. And then after we read it 10 times, you'll just be able to glance at it. And then before you know it, we're setting it down. And before you know it, we're just doing it. But that happens without practice, without repetition and like uncomfortable repetition.
Yeah.
So I think that's the way to do it. And then just constantly throwing them curveballs.
Oh, for sure. You know, I always try to tell my athletes like, all right, now that you've started meeting with me, I'm going to have you do something uncomfortable every day. Like you're going to leave your comfort zone. If you're going to be one of my athletes, I'm going to have you leave your comfort zone, right? Because if you want to do that, like if you want to build mental toughness, you have to leave your comfort zone, right? Your comfort zone's like this and you want to get it bigger and bigger, but the only way to do that is by leaving. Yeah. And for mental toughness, the only way to get mentally tougher is you need to do things that are very difficult, right? Whether that's, a cold shower. That's always the first one I tell my athletes. Like, all right, something very simple.
1 minute, cold shower.
Super easy. Right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say easy. Mentally it's tough, right? But like it's a simple concept, walk into cold water, right? And that's one little thing that's going to make your mental toughness go from
For sure.
a 6 to a 7 maybe. And
Yeah.
now you're prepared and now your comfort zone's bigger.
Yeah. It's fun. I tell people all the time, like, if I could take a team in a business, put them on the line and just run them until one person quits, like, you'll have a team.
Yeah.
Like, hustle. It's like, I'm constantly trying to figure that out with words and with mindset in the business world. It's like, you want a team, put them on the line, run them until somebody quits.
For sure.
You will then have a team, guaranteed, right? Guaranteed. Because there will be so much that happens in there. And it's all of it is literally people just adapting. Yeah. Adapting to what leader arises, who's talking, who's shutting up, who's doing what. Yeah. How do I fit in here? All of this is happening all because you're just getting physically tired.
Yeah. It's like a Plinko board, people settle into their roles.
Yep. Before you know it, you have a team. So that's great with adaptability. Let's talk performance metrics. Okay. So like numbers. Yeah. So sports. Yeah. I mean, we measure everything.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, everything, right? They used to always say like baseball, like they count everything. Yeah. Right. Fan number 43 blinked 17 times and like they count everything, which is great.
We talked about that when you were coaching me as an athlete. Yeah. When we started to get to like the really high level conversations of like, I remember this. I need you to be thinking about taking 3 or 4 more risks a game because my goal, like I wanted to score more goals because I hadn't done that. And that was why I was recruited, was go put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, hadn't done that. Broke down the process.
Broke down the whole process of like, okay, here's the risk you need to take. Now go think about it while you're practicing. Go take these extra risks. Yeah. If you walk out of practice, I tell you to take 5 risks, but you only took 3, that practice.
Then don't expect to score.
Yeah, then you can't.
I remember this because I literally said, okay, you said I want to score more goals. I said, okay, what's it take to score goals? And you're like, I got to shoot. And I'm like, okay, how do you get more shots? And you're like, I take more risks. I'm like, okay. Like, there we go then. Yeah. Then I was like, how many risks do you need to take in order to score a goal? And I think it was like 3 or 4. Yeah. It was like for every 3 or 4 risks I take, I'm going to score. Yeah. Right. Or at least get a really good quality shot. Yeah. So it was like, okay, well then we need to take 8 a game. Yeah. That changed the entire way. So if you come out and I say how many and you say 3 and I didn't score and I'm mad, I'm going to say, well, then you're an idiot. Yeah. Because why are you mad? Yeah. Can't be mad. You didn't do what we talked about. You know the math. Yeah. And I think all the time, this is so relatable. Just talking about the process. Yeah. Right. People want the result. They want good leadership, but they won't follow the process of good leadership and what good leadership is. Yeah. They want a result in business, but they're focused on the result, not what it takes to get the result, which is usually the totally unsexy, under the iceberg. Like,
so boring.
The stuff that's so boring that no one's going to do. Like, that's the stuff. That's the process. It's the hard things.
That's what's going to help you be successful, right? There's so many. Like, that's the process mindset versus the result mindset. Yeah. And people are like, oh, I want to score more goals. I want to go win. I want to be on this team. It's like, okay, great. Now what? Oh, you got to actually live it out. Yeah. Right? One of my athletes, he wants to be an Olympian. Like, nice. Okay. So do you know how they live? Yeah. Do you know like what it takes to be an Olympian?
Are you willing to train for one thing for 4 years?
Yeah. Are you willing to sacrifice everything? For, one opportunity, one moment. And it's like, oh, when
shout out to Eminem.
Yeah, right. You see that, you're like, oh man, being an Olympian, that all you see is, 10 seconds on a race and on TV, and now you're, gold medal, whatever. That's what people see. But it's like 10 years of training for 10 seconds. Yeah. And people don't realize, like, that's not easy. And you're going to have to train, that Mamba mentality, Kobe, like, train 4 times a day. And once I tell my athletes, I'm like, are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to give up almost every other thing in your life besides, family time and school? Mm-hmm. Are you willing to give all that up to do this?
To get what you want. We're talking about the serious athlete.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, I don't care what you say, actually, because all I care about is what you actually do. Yeah. And what your actions you take.
Yeah, because talk's cheap.
Yeah, because it means no difference to me whether you say you're going to be an Olympian or you're going to be, I'm just trying to make my varsity team. It's like, I don't care what you say. I care what you do. Yeah. So if you're not living out, if you don't adopt the identity of what you want to become and you don't start living that out in your actions, you're not gonna win.
Well, and I think with like a lot of things now is, the trend is like, I want to be promoted. I should already be here. And it's like, you've been here 5 minutes. You've done essentially nothing.
Yeah.
And you're like, promote me. Like you haven't, like I'm the owner and the founder. Like I built this thing from zero.
Yeah.
And it's now at whatever, filmed like 100, 500, a million. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you're like, I think I should run this.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't even know your middle name.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? Like you have done
nothing.
But they're like, what I think that I deserve. And I'm like, no one cares.
That
what
is
you think you deserve.
You don't deserve anything.
Like you put the work in. Like you want the metric, you want the goal, the whatever.
Yeah.
Like, are you willing to put like, I want to be a good leader. Okay, well, guess what? There's no like leadership shot that you get from the doctor. Like you do it by trying really hard over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And it like sucks.
Yeah.
Like it's lonely, it's hard, and not many people want to actually do it.
Yeah.
You know, but they, you know, hire the leadership consultant.
Yeah.
And they paid me money, so it should be fixed. And it's like, this isn't to do it for you. If you want me to come in and run your company, not even run your company, lead your people, that's going to be more expensive.
And a lot more time.
And which is why it's more expensive. Right. And also then they're just going to follow me, not you.
Yeah. That's not the goal.
So it's like, you have to do the work of uncomfortable, of transparent, of vulnerable, of being accountable, all of those things. Otherwise you're not going to get your metric, your goal.
No. You
know, but I do think, honing in on the numbers, I think you have to have a goal, right? You have to have metrics that you're looking for, because what you focus on gets better, right? Improves. However, if you focus on too many things, then it's going to get kind of white noise. It's all going to be kind of gray type of a deal. I mean, if you said, I need to focus on shots, I need to focus on goals, I need to focus on risks, it's like probably 1, maybe 2.
Yeah.
But I would say 1, you know, and maybe you put 3, but you put them in 1, 2, 3 order. I know for me, like when I went into a game in football, I had one goal or one focus for that game. Like it was like, you know what? I'm going to run block today. Like that's my number one goal.
Yeah. Right.
So my run blocking is going to be 90% today, going to be 95% today.
Yeah.
My pass blocking, I wanted to maintain.
Right.
I'll maintain that. But my focus, like, because I did the math and it was like, if I block at 93% in the run, we'll win. Is that exactly like doing the math with the goals, right? Yeah. So you just got to figure out what's most important. And I think leaders miss helping their people do that.
Yeah.
Right. They're just out there and they're like, I need you to do these 117 things. And it's like, well, actually, this one thing, if you do that and you do it well, will knock out 80 of these things.
Right.
Type of a deal. So I think people focus on too many metrics.
Yeah.
Or the wrong ones.
Yeah.
And they don't know why. Like we got to look at closing percentage. We got to look at appointment set to appointment schedule. We got to look at average order value. We got to look at, it's like which people just need one.
Yeah. Pick one, knock it out.
Right. Like we can measure all of those things, but what are you going to give them to focus on?
Right.
Type of a deal.
Yeah.
Because people always say, oh, you know, I want to get better at employee retention. Like, awesome. That's our number. Employee retention over a 2-year span, we want our employee retention to be 90%. And it's like, while we focus on that, there's going to be like 7 other things that get better. Right.
Right.
And we'll measure those things, but that's not the focus.
Right.
So it's about, we're going to get better relationship. There's going to be better leadership. There's going to be better teamwork, like all of these things, because they're lag indicators of good employee retention. So I think it's always like, but which one do we choose? And it's like,
one of them.
It doesn't really matter. As long as you're trying to really get better at that thing, it trickles to so many other things.
That kind of goes into, decision making, right? The decision is what stops most people. And it's like, it really doesn't matter what you do as long as you just start and pick one. Just make the decision.
Do something.
The most successful people aren't the ones that make the right decisions. They're the ones that make a decision. Yeah. Because so many people can't make a decision. It's like, okay, if you want to be successful, make one decision, complete it, do it, whatever, on to the next.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's good, bad, because you'll improve over time.
Let's dive into that, because I'm thinking of my experience as a center in college. I mean, it was so many decisions and one play.
Yeah.
I got to snap the ball. I got to figure out who I'm going to block. I got to remember the play.
Mm-hmm.
I got to potentially adjust, which is also a decision.
Right.
I got to decide what words I'm going to say to communicate. Like there are so many decisions.
So many.
And micro, big and little decisions to
Yeah.
make in sports. So I mean, talk about, I think one of the things, the specific question I want to ask is my game was a start and stop, one play,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a break.
Yeah.
But yours is ever flowing essentially.
Yeah.
How does that differ in the decision-making prospect?
So that's why I think it's important to, we talk about process goals. You need to pick on a couple of things to focus on, right? So for me, I had 2 or 3, and that limited the amount of decisions I had to make because oftentimes, as a striker, I'm off the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of times where I'm not involved with the play. I mean, I am, but like not directly.
Mm-hmm.
And my decision-making is now solely on movement. And so if I pick something to really focus on, then I don't need to eliminate, should I go here? Should I go there? I just kind of do the same kind of things over and over again.
Yeah.
But of course, right? Like there's different times where I might have to make 15 decisions in a matter of 5 seconds.
Right.
But then there's other times where I'm making one decision every 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like the ability to be prepared for those moments, because if you're not prepared for those moments to make the right decision or make a decision, then you're not going to be successful. And I think it's tough. And that's why decision making is so hard for people, is because they are so stressed out that they want to make the right decision.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're going to screw up. You're going to make the wrong decision.
It's funny too, because I think this is a massive parallel. Like, it's basically, how can I make the best, worst decision?
Yeah.
Instead of like, what's the perfect decision? It's like, how can I screw this up the least?
Right.
It's like, I think that won't completely mess it up. I'll do that. Right. I think too, one of the big things that's really helped me with transferring this from sports to business is game film. Right. So basically how I've done that and transferred that into business. Well, I mean, one, like a lot of times on sales calls, you can literally do that and watch the game film, which is amazing.
Pretty sweet.
But in leadership, I just call it like the debrief or like the after action review, which is just my version of the game film.
Right.
And it's like, okay, you made this decision.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the objective? What was your goal? Why did you make that decision? Okay. What went good? What went bad? What did you learn from what went bad? And then what would you do next time?
Right.
Type of a deal. It's like, to me, that's just like the quick version
of
game film to sports.
Yeah, 100%.
But like, no one does that.
Mm-mm.
No, like if you walk a leader, if you just pulled a leader off the street in one of these other businesses and you're just like, tell me about a decision you made today. All right, what was the objective? Why'd you make that decision? What went good? What went bad? What'd you learn? What would you do next time? They'd be like, oh, that was great. You're like, yeah, it took 3 minutes.
Right.
And you're now a better leader because of it, because you actually broke that down in your own head.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I took game film.
Yeah.
I said, how do I change game film, the concept,
for sure,
into how do we just learn something quickly? Because how many times was that film stopped for me? Why'd you do this?
Right.
What should you have done?
Right.
What do you do next time?
Yeah.
Right. If his knuckles are white, what should you be thinking?
Right.
Right. Or whatever.
Yeah.
If you see a safety rule down, like all these different things that you're like, oh, now I'm, externally processing my decision and my actions and my adaptability. Yeah. And that's when the dots are connecting, because that'll happen faster next time and more effectively next time.
Yeah. People don't want to do that because they don't want to be wrong. They don't want to look bad, which boggles my mind. Because it's like, why does that matter so much? Because you're learning whether you did a good job or a bad job.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'll, let's say I did this horrible decision and it flunked. It's like, I want to review that so I know what not to do again. Right? If I don't learn from that, then it's inevitably going to happen again. And it's like, why are you so scared of that? Because you're going to learn on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay.
I think that's the mindset of competition, which is honestly like one of our last parallels.
Yeah.
I think people view it incorrectly.
Yeah.
People view it as winning.
Mm-hmm.
I need to win. I should win.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I should focus on. It's like, well, how do you win? You stack failures.
Yeah.
Like that's how you, like the best of the best failed a whole bunch of times
Yeah.
and learned something from it.
Yeah.
And they started failing less and less and less. And then it gets harder and harder and harder to win because you're failing less. Therefore, you're learning less.
Yeah.
So then you start to find micro failures in your wins so that you can learn something from them.
Yeah.
But everything that I just said is opposite of natural human thought.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Everyone immediately goes to the results mindset. Every time I ask an athlete, hey, how'd the game go? Oh, we won 2-1 or we lost. And it's like, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Is that what the question I asked? Like, okay, how did, now I got to rephrase it. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
How did you play?
Correct.
Right? What did you do? What did you do right? What did you do wrong?
Yeah.
What would you change?
You know what you could do? You could say, hey, in the third period, what is one good decision you made?
Yeah.
Like a specific to help them start to think like that.
Yeah.
Because then eventually you ask that enough, they'll answer you specifically because they'll know how you're going to ask.
Oh, yeah.
But like, I mean, that's directly related to me. I'm like coaching myself right now of like, oh, I should ask that when I say, how's your day?
Right.
I should be like, what's a good leadership decision you made today?
Yeah.
What's a bad leadership decision you made today?
Yeah.
What's one thing you screwed up that we can learn from?
One win, one challenge.
Yeah. One win, one challenge. That's such a good combo. But I think the best of the best, they look for the opportunity to get better versus I did good.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, well, I don't care about that. Like when I tell you to read something, just tell me what's wrong with it.
Right.
Because I need something to get better. Even things that like aren't outwardly my fault, right? Or a leader's fault per se. You still want to go, but I'm going to point the thumb and say it is my fault.
Yeah.
Because then I can do something about it. Then I can learn something from it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, if they just suck, then like it stops, period. We're done.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, what if it's my fault? How could I avoid that? How could I do more of that, less of that? How could I get better?
Yeah.
And then, oh, I can go somewhere with that.
Right.
I can use that.
Yeah. Then you're back in control.
Exactly.
And control is what we all want. People don't want to say it, but it's like, that's what you want at the end of the day is control.
Yeah. You want to control your own destiny.
Yeah. If you can find ways that you're at fault for other people's mistakes, then that's how you win. Because then you can learn from someone else's mistake, or you can figure out the path that traces back to you on, if I did this right, then these dominoes wouldn't have fallen. Yeah. Okay, you need to find the source.
It's a culture difference too.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're too hard on people like that, then they'll start to think you're just a negative Nancy.
Yeah.
But so it's always tying that back to like, I'm not being hard on you. I'm finding an opportunity.
Right.
And you're training them to find their own opportunities to grow.
Right.
And then you're celebrating just finding the opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's how you're strengthening culture.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, a team that's just always looking for ways to get better.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of team you want competing.
Yeah.
Not the kind of team that you won on Sunday and it's Thursday and you're still celebrating.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Like, hey, that's awesome. But like get to work.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, I was training with a company called Barwis Methods. And I think it was Lamar Woodley was in there the 7 days after he won the Super Bowl. 7 days. And he's puking in a trash can from working out so hard. 7 days after he won the Super Bowl. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. That dude is not content.
No, that's a winner.
He's like on to the next one.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like
it's like, it doesn't matter if you're successful or you fail. Like, if your mind is pulled to that success or failure, you're not focused on the next play. You're not focused on the next task, the next thing. So honestly, winning or doing something successfully might be more toxic for you than failing. So I try to tell my athletes, like, whether you succeed or fail, whether you score a goal or miss an open net, you need to refocus to the moment or else it's going to happen again.
Who was it? The Dark Knight Rises when Bane.
Yeah.
It's like victory has defeated you. When he beats up Batman.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been saying that so much lately.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you've won too much. Yeah. That's your problem. So you think all you do is win and you haven't learned anything from anything that you won. And I'm like, victory has defeated you.
Yeah. Honestly.
Which is crazy. Yeah. But all right, let's turn the page here. Let's talk about like, how do we apply these things? So I think the one thing that we've said over and over I mean, we've made these parallels like crazy throughout the day, but how do we apply these? Number one is practice.
Yeah.
Right. So in the business world, how do we practice that? Like, how do I practice discipline? How do I practice learning something new? How do I practice adaptability?
You need to figure out how it fits into your routine, right? That's why I think successful people all have routines. There's no secret to that, right? So if you want to learn something new, you need to figure out how it fits into your routine on a daily basis, right? If you want to develop discipline on anything, figure out how it squeezes into your daily routine, or move things around so that it fits in your daily routine, and then just do your routine.
Yeah.
Right. And stick to it.
To me, one of the best ways is you're intentionally working on something, getting feedback on it.
Yeah.
Like, so say you run a meeting, like have a shared Google Doc after the meeting and just have your team just destroy you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, give me feedback on how I ran that meeting.
Little roast session.
Yeah. Like, and you can start with like, there's a concept called feed forward.
Yeah.
It's like, don't smash me on how it went.
Yeah.
Give me suggestions on how it would go better next time.
Right.
Which kind of reframes the message a bit.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's helpful, but like, hey, you could have got more sleep. We can tell you didn't put much prep in.
Yeah.
This should have been an email. That's like, you're learning there.
Yeah.
So it's like things you're already doing. Figure out how to leverage those things to get feedback so you can work on the skill.
Yeah. 100%.
Right. And I think that's key. I mean, how you greet someone, how you're on a call, how you run a meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these different things.
Yeah.
Anytime you're communicating or, practicing your mindset at all in any way, shape. How was my ego today?
Yeah.
I mean, you can literally, number one trait of any great leader is going to be humility. You could say, how did I do with checking my ego this week?
Right.
Right. Like, well, it flared up a bit on Wednesday, Desi. Like, it's like, well, yeah, that was a tough day. And I was feeling like I was better than everyone and I'm not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, but I think feedback's the key there.
Yeah.
Like you want everything you want to know is the people around you that deal with you the most and interact with you the most. They know.
Yeah. If you want to get better at something, find someone that's better at it than you
and ask them
and just follow them, do what they do, learn from it. Don't compare because comparison's, the opposite of productivity, but figure out what they're good at, what you want to learn, figure out someone that's better than you at it, and then just learn from them.
Yeah. I think that's a good one. And then reps, put the reps in.
Yeah. It's a given.
Obviously there's like the rule of 100, just something every day.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe it's not 100, maybe it's 50, like whatever.
Yeah.
But like anything you're trying to get better at it, do it many times every single day. It's boring. It's not sexy and no one's going to know until you get better at the thing.
Yeah. It takes 10,000 hours to be a master at something, right? Is that the math?
So it's like start.
Oh yeah.
Most people don't start the first hour.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, they don't even start that first step.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Do you ever read Kobe's book, Mama Mentality?
I don't think so. Not that one.
Well, he talks about how he improved, his skill. So I think he was in middle school.
Okay.
And over time, he picked one skill, went hard on it for 6 months.
Okay.
4 times a day, typical Kobe, behavior, until he was like, yeah, I'm good at it. Then it became a part of his routine. On to the next. That was his only focus. Reps, until all of a sudden he was good at it.
Yeah. On
to the next. And so he did that for, 4 or 5 skills that he wanted to learn over a 2-year span. Took, 5 months here, then another 5 months, then another 5 months.
Yeah.
2 years later, he's an unbelievably different player. People are like, whoa, what the heck happened? It's like, oh, well, I did all this unsexy stuff throughout.
It's like building block.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
time and reps over time.
Effort over time.
Yeah.
Equals result.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. So it's like the effort has to come.
Yeah.
Like just time passes. You're missing a key variable there in the effort.
Yeah. 100%.
And people, they don't want to put that in.
No.
They don't want to put that effort in to be a good leader. And I think it's focus. Like you were saying, he was focused on one thing.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to try to get better at 6 things.
Yeah.
I'm going to get better at this one thing until it clicks, and then I'm going to stack something else.
Right.
And it's like a lot of times what I help with is helping them figure out that one thing.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, I know 117 things are broken in your company. We got to fix them all. I get it.
Great.
What's the most important? And what I mean by most important is what would be the highest leverage, the biggest impact that would have of your behavior as the leader. And then let's focus there.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like, if we fix this, it's going to be like trickle down.
Yeah. It's a domino effect
on all the other things.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's a key too.
Yeah.
Reviews. So like grading.
Yeah.
Right. Like we had a grade every single game.
Yeah.
Every game I graded out in the run, in the pass, and then overall.
Yeah.
Right. And if you got, my one offensive line coach wouldn't even let us grade 90% because he was like, screw you. No one grades 90% in my team. And I'm like, so 89.9? Yep. 89.9. Right. Got me the player of the game against the University of Michigan one time. And I'm like, I did the math. I was 93. It's like, screw you.
Yeah,
89.
no, 89.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But I think this is like a fear. I think we have performance reviews and they're like once a year.
Yeah.
And they're secretive.
Yeah.
And it's like in sports, it's like every week.
Film was terrifying.
Every week. And guess what? It gets less terrifying.
Yeah.
And you I grade myself. Like you already know. Because you probably already watched it and graded yourself.
Yeah.
But in the business world, it's like, oh, I'm going to do a performance review at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the end of the, why are we having at least an informal one every other week?
Yeah.
And we come in, why am I grading you? You should come in, already have graded yourself.
Yeah.
And I'll compare and contrast.
Right.
Because you're probably going to be harder on you than I am.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, what do you need to do to get better? I'm going to coach you.
Yeah.
Not be some hierarchical, tyrannical asshole.
Yeah.
That says, well, you need to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, I could be proactive leader.
Yeah.
And you should already know X, Y, and Z.
For sure.
Because I've been coaching you, training you, equipping you, empowering you all along.
Yeah. This
is just to make sure that we're informed and updated.
Yeah.
And I'm helping you remove obstacles out of your way.
Yeah.
Right?
If we're in a review and I'm harder on you than you are, that's an issue. There's a problem there.
It's a culture problem.
Yeah.
I think that's the leader's fault in not building that culture.
Yeah. And that's why companies like you, that's why it exists. Right.
But that's just how I think we need to redo the way we think about performance reviews.
Yeah.
Like you need to do them multiple times informally.
You should be looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly,
that's how you get better.
Yeah, no doubt. And that needs to change.
Yeah.
I always say look, your people feel like they're coming to the principal's office.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah, no.
They should be excited about talking to the coach.
Right. Yeah.
Because the coach helps them get better.
Right.
And when you get better, you make more money, you're happier, you're more fulfilled, you get promotions, the company gets better. It's all good for everyone.
Yeah.
Type of a deal. So I think that's a definite culture switch that we make.
100%.
Let's talk about resilience. How to put all of this into play. I think one of the ways is resilience and perseverance. Like just the ability to keep going when things get hard.
Yeah.
One of the top things that I do is help people have difficult conversations. And you would be amazed at the one, inability, lack of skill, and two, the lack of want to have a difficult conversation. Yeah. I always say everything you ever wanted is on the other side of a handful of difficult conversations.
Right.
Right. And people are just unwilling to do it. And I think it's all because of lack of resilience. Yeah. So how do you think sports has built the resilience in you to do those harder things now that you've came out of sports?
Yeah.
Well, you're still in it, but you know what I mean.
For sure. Yeah. So it's just one of those things. Just this past year, I've worked with a few athletes and I've had this conversation with you before about it's no longer about the sport.
Yeah.
It is about you fighting with everything you can to get through.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with.
I remember this kid.
Yeah. I have nothing to do with the sport, right? Forget about the sport. Focus on what you need to do to get through.
Yeah.
Right. Just fight it because you only lose if you quit. That's when you lose.
Yep.
You can't lose if you're still in it. You're still fighting. You only lose if you quit.
Yeah.
And that's a decision you have to live with for the rest of your life. Yep. So it's yeah, I'm going to suffer for 3, 4, 5 weeks so I don't have to suffer for 50 years down the road because I regret this decision.
Exactly.
Right. So it's like, all right, well,
so this one, there's a specific moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in a Chinese restaurant in downtown Ypsilanti. You probably know this story, right?
We were talking about this.
I was wanting to quit. When I played for Eastern Michigan, I wanted to quit.
Yeah.
My dad came down to watch practice and took me out of this Chinese joint. And I was like, I was sitting there crying, like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I hate it here. I don't like what I'm doing. It's too hard. I want to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I mean, if you want to be done, then you can be done. He's like, but just like you're saying, what you're learning right now will make you a better man, a better husband, a better dad, a better entrepreneur, a better whatever, a better person in general, because you were willing to fight through this.
Yeah.
Where if you quit, what are you going to tell your kid? And it's like,
can't help him through anything at that point.
No.
You're a quitter.
And it was like, well, I'm not quitting now.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, well, what would I tell my kid? Let me come up with a rational.
Yeah.
How can I rationalize? You're hurt and you're just trying to rationalize, right?
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, I mean, just staying the course.
Yeah.
I mean, that phrase, that mantra became my mantra. Like, stay the course.
Yeah.
Just do it again.
Yeah.
Just do it again. Just do it again. Like you did it 100 and something times. You can do it 101.
Yeah.
And just over and over and over. But people are unwilling to do that. They would rather tell the quit story.
Yeah.
And blame it on someone else.
Yeah. And in my freshman year, walked into the coach's office, said, I'm done. Can't do this. I hate you. Hate this. I'm out. He said, no, you're not doing it. You're not quitting. And I went, all right, cool. I guess I'm not quitting. I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, and you're like,
walked out.
I didn't know that was an option.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you where I'd be if I had walked out of that office and drove home that day.
Yeah. I think here's the key, though.
Wouldn't be here.
Both of us in both of these stories had a person that was unwilling to let us.
Yeah.
Right. And I think people are missing that person.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it be a coach, a mentor, a cheer, like whoever it is, right? A dad, it doesn't matter, honestly. Yeah. But like you got to have that person in your life.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm thinking about packing her in, whatever that means. And someone to be like, why don't you just go one more time?
Yeah. Just one more day.
Yeah. Just keep trying. I just don't think I'm a good leader. Just keep going.
Yeah. See what happens.
Let's just do it again. Let's try one more time. Let's try one more time. Let's try one more time.
Yeah.
How many times have I said one more time?
Oh, my days.
Hey, just one more rep. Hey, just one more rep. Just one more rep. And I think that's key
100%
for a lot of leaders who are struggling and like they're like, my team's toxic. My team just sucks. This is horrible. Just try it one more time.
Yeah.
Let's try it one more time. Try it with a little bit more heart, and you'd be surprised what you get out of that.
Yeah,
but
100%.
All right, last one is clarity.
Yeah.
So this is a fun one because sports, everything is so clear.
Yeah.
I'm a center. I'm on offense. My job is to snap the ball, block the people in front of me.
Yep.
Wow, that's simple.
Yeah.
And when you go to business, right? What was your job as a striker?
Score goals. Put the ball in the back of the net.
Like, what'd you just score goals? Two words, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Simple concept. Hard to do.
Yeah.
But simple concept. Transfer that to any business. And they're like, what's your job description? And they give me this freaking packet and I'm like, tell me what this means. And they're like, well, and they start reading it. And I'm like, no. You do this job every day. And you don't, like, where's the score goals? Like, give me that.
Yeah.
Like, what's your job?
Yeah.
Well, tell me about your.
Oh, okay.
Tell me about your No, but I tell them all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Give me the 3-word answer.
Oh yeah.
Like, is it simple?
All right, 3-word answer. What do you do?
Right. Make leaders better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, that's not sexy. Well, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Right. And it tends to make companies a whole lot more money.
Yeah. Because
people like each other. They get along. They accomplish goals.
Yeah.
But I just think that's one way. Like in sports and military and business, everyone knows one thing, and it's who's in charge.
Yeah.
They know who the leader is.
Yeah.
Like that's the best teams. They know who the leader is, and the leader operates as the leader.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you do so with humility and you do so with great communication. Yes. But everyone knows who that leader is, who that captain is. Right. But we don't trickle that down to the next level. Are they aware of what their role is in the mission?
Right.
Clearly, simply.
Yeah.
And guess what? It doesn't matter if the leader knows.
Yeah.
They have to know.
Right.
And they have to be able to say it.
Right.
Just like I say, I snapped the ball and blocked the people in front of me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's simple and
Yeah.
sounds almost small.
Yeah.
But if I don't do that,
yeah,
the offense doesn't exist.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
If you don't score goals, like we don't win.
You don't win.
That's this point blank.
You have to.
Right. So it's like every piece is there. Like you
Yeah.
have to be one of those guys, one of those girls that does your job so the team can do their job so that we can win.
Yeah.
And that's where we got to transition.
Mm-hmm.
And here's your test. You just walk around and just ask people on your team, what's your role in the mission?
Yeah.
And if they don't give you something incredibly short and incredibly simple, and you say, and how will that help us win? And they can't answer that, you know you didn't do a good enough job.
Yep.
So redo it.
Yep.
Inform them, update them, clarify it with them.
Yep.
And you'll do even better. But hey, there was like 10 ways that business and sports and leadership parallel, a bunch of ways to apply it. I would say, what would be in the professional world?
Mm-hmm.
What would be the one kind of takeaway that you would give them? If it was there's a leader, they're listening to this, they got a team of like 10 people and they're struggling through, they're trying to hit $1 million for the first time ever. Like, what would you tell them? Of everything you've learned in your sports career, what would you tell them?
Communicate with your team.
Just talk to
them. That, I can't tell you how different a team is from one that communicates versus one that doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It is night and day. And the one that communicates might not even be more talented, but they're the ones that are on the same page and they know what to do. They know the role, they know how to execute, and then they can move forward. But if there's no communication or there's very little communication, that team will always fail.
Yeah.
Always. So talk to your team.
There you go.
Doesn't matter how you do it, just talk to them every day. Go walk through the halls of your business. If you're virtual, meet with your team consistently and just talk. Doesn't even need to be about the thing. Just get used to having conversation. So the more you trust each other, the more you're willing to have a tough conversation, and then it becomes an easy conversation to have.
Yeah. So there's your action plan for the week, for the month.
Talk
Number one thing, and it's not hard.
No.
It's pretty simple. Schedule a 15-minute one-on-one with everyone on your team and just talk to them. How can I help? How can I support you better? What's going on in your life? Tell me something I don't know about you. How you like it here? Like, I mean, literally just ChatGPT some questions if you need to. I'm a massive fan.
Oh, for sure.
And just talk to your people.
Yeah, just talk to them.
Hey, thanks for joining us on the Designated Leader Podcast. This is Desi, and here's Cole with me talking about the parallels of sports and leadership and how to apply those in your company to help you become a better leader. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Have a powerful day.